The Rwandan Genocide happened between 7th April to 15 July 1994 during the Rwanda Civil War. The genocide lasted for 100 days. The scar and brutality of the genocide caused shockwave worldwide, but no country intervened to stop the killings. The genocide can be discussed without talking about the Civil War. The Civil War was a conflict between the Rwanda Patriotic Front, the RPF of the Tutsis rebels, and the Rwanda Armed Forces of the Hutu government that happened between October 1990 to July of 1994. The enduring ethnic tensions between the majority Hutu and the minority Tutsis fomented the civil war which led to the genocide. The hatred the Hutus unleashed represented the worst that the human nature are capable of. But in considering what led to the disaster, it is important to bear in mind that the violence was not spontaneous. It emerged from a century during the Belgians' colonial rule in Rwanda. The Belgians favored the Tutsis while the Hutus were treated like serfs. They were forced to work in their lands and were beaten like donkeys. The Hutus' anger lingered until their independence in 1962. Then they exploded a brutal revenge against the Tutsis. Hundreds of thousands of Tutsis flew to neighboring countries and majority of them flew to Uganda. During the 1960s, the Uganda Tutsis refugees had launched occasional armed strikes across the borders, but Rwanda's army easily fought them off. Each attack sparked revenge against those Tutsis who remained inside Rwanda. Many of the Tutsis in Rwanda were rounded up, tortured and killed on mere suspicion of being supporters of the refugees fighters. By the late 1980s, a new generation of refugees with training and weapons supported by Uganda represented a potential far greater threat. This new generation of refugees was what made up the Rwanda Patriotic Front, the RPF. In 1990, the Rwanda Patriotic Front invaded northern Rwanda from their base in Uganda, which led to the Rwanda Civil War. When the RPF launched its invasion, Paul Kagame was in the United States studying field tactics and rifles. After 4 RUFT commanders were killed, he left the United States to join the Rwanda invasion. Throughout the next 3 years, the Uganda government continued to supply Kagame with weapons and food. When the Rwanda government, led by the Hutus president Juvenal Habyarimana, saw that the Rwanda Patriotic Front were outweighing them, he decided to sought for peace, which made him sign the Arusha Accord with the Rwanda's Patriotic Front on 4th August 1993. The treaty gave the Tutsis a fair share of power in the government. This agreement angers Hutus extremists. In response, they armed the Hutus paramilitary and waged a vicious propaganda campaign against the Tutsis on radio broadcast. On the evening of April 6, 1994, President Habyarimana was killed. A surface-to-air missile shot down his plane, which landed in Kigali, the Rwanda's capital. The identity of the person who fired the missiles remains a mystery till today. However, extremist leaders of Rwanda, Hutus majority, seized this assassination as an opportunity to launch a carefully planned campaign to wipe out the country's Tutsis They also targeted moderate Hutus leaders who might have opposed the program of the genocide. The genocide began in Kigali, the country's capital. It was led by the President Guard, the elite unit of the army, and was assisted by the Interahamwe and the Impuzamugambias. Roads were blocked throughout the capital, and each person passing the roadblock must show his national identity card, which contained their ethnicity. People with Tutsis card were instantly killed. House searching was going on. Tutsis were killed and looting of their properties. In rural areas, majority of the killings were carried out by ordinary Hutu civilians, and any Hutus that refused to carry it out would be killed. One of the prominent massacres was the killing of over 1,500 Tutsis who sought refuge in a Catholic church in Yange on 12 April 1994. Rape was among the tools employed by the Hutus against the Tutsis women and some moderate Hutus women. The Hutus extremists released hundreds of infected HIV patients and turned them into rape squad, with the intention of causing slow and excruciating death for their future Tutsis victims. It was estimated that between 250,000 to 500,000 were victims of rape during the genocide. It was also estimated that between 800,000 to 1 million people died during the genocide. The international community was widely criticized for its failure to intervene and prevent the genocide. The United Nations peacekeeping in Rwanda was understaffed and ill-equipped to handle the scale of violence. Despite calls for intervention, the international community did not take decisive action until late in the genocide. The aftermath of the genocide was marked by a massive humanitarian crisis, with millions of people displaced and traumatized. The Rwanda Patriotic Front, a Tutsi rebel group led by Paul Kagame, eventually gained control and put an end to the violence. Rwanda has since made significant progress in rebuilding and reconciliation efforts, but the scar of the genocide still remains.